Happy Front Porch Friday, y'all. Okay, today's topic is single family homes, townhouses, and condos. I expect if I asked you all which is which, you would say, oh, a single family home is detached, it's got its own little yard. A townhouse is attached and it's 2 stories and they're all attached. And a condo looks like an apartment building on the outside and they're all these units within a building. And while that is a really nice box to put things in, it's actually incorrect. So let's get to it. Okay, so generally for residential ownership, there are 2 types of ownership. One is residential, and if you look in our MLS, we can pick that you're gonna purchase residential or you're going to purchase condominium. That is under the umbrella of residential ownership. Yeah, I get it, it's tricky. However, realizing that it doesn't have townhouse as an option. So we'll talk about that first. Townhouse is actually not a type of ownership in the same way that residential and condominium are a type of ownership. So a townhouse is a description used to identify a property. So townhouse just basically means attached. And for most of us, it means 2 stories, but it doesn't have to mean that. In the same way that ranch doesn't have to mean 1 level. It could be 1 level with a bonus up. People still call that a ranch. So townhouses are attached living. However, they are under the category of residential. Let's talk about residential next. When purchasing a home, you are actually purchasing the plot of land that the home is on, and the home is considered an improvement to the land. So when you purchase a single family home, a townhouse, those types of properties, you are actually able to have a survey done of the land, and they will put the 4 pins in the yard for you and say, this is what you're purchasing. Oh, and by the way, the house is a bonus. It's an expensive bonus, but it's a bonus, right? And yes, the house has value, of course. Same thing is true with a townhouse. When you purchase a townhouse, you will have 4 pins in your yard and you'll be able to see very clearly, this is what I own. Now you are attached to your neighbor for certain. However, you have your own piece of grass that is yours to do whatever you wish within the confines of the HOA, of course. That's another discussion for another day. Let's talk next about condominiums. Okay, now let's talk about condominiums. When purchasing a condominium, think of it as buying into a business in a way. And the reason I say that is because the condominium association owns the land and you are purchasing a portion of that association. So for example, if there are 100 units within a condominium association, you own 1/100th of the land. That doesn't mean that you get to find your little square and decide that that's it. You're going to make a grid and find a square. That's not it. What it does mean is that you have part ownership into the association. That's why it's very important to know how financially solvent a condominium association is prior to buying into it. And don't worry, if you don't figure it out, your lender will. They don't have a problem finding that out. This video is prompted by a recent sale that I had. It was a condo. However, when you drove up to it, it looked like a single family home. The homes were detached from one another. They had driveways and garages and back porches. They were similar in style, but in the same way that a builder might build similar homes next to one another. So of course the buyer was immediately like, what? Condo? I don't know what you're talking about. This doesn't make any sense to me. So we got to have this fun discussion together. Another way that this gets confusing is that people believe that condo associations are going to take care of all the exterior of their home, including their roof, their windows, their doors, their driveways, things like that, their yard, things like that. And while that's often the case, it's not necessarily the case. So in this instance, actually, the homeowner was still responsible for her entire exterior of her home, and the association was taking care of her landscaping. But that can be the case in single family homes as well. I actually know people who own homes within HOA associations where the HOA covers the yard. However, they don't cover anything else. Same can be true of townhouses. The townhouse association or the association pertaining to the townhouse may choose to take care of the yards, or they may say, no, you know your little 4 corners, we're asking you to take care of them. So realize you can't just look at it and go, oh, that's what that is. You really need to read the documents and understand exactly what it is that you're purchasing. I'd be a fool if I didn't say I'm not an attorney. Please seek legal advice when you have any questions. I have some fantastic attorneys that I'm happy to connect you with, and happy Friday!